Oklahoma's own News on 6 starts now.
25 years ago, 168 people were killed and hundreds of others were injured after Timothy McVeigh used a bomb to blow up the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. Tonight, we honor those who were killed, those who survived, and those whose lives were changed forever on April 19, 1995. On this 25th anniversary, we are sharing their stories of courage and perseverance. Good evening, I'm Chin Doan. As many reflect on today's milestone anniversary, one survivor shares his powerful story of what happened that day. News on 6's Amelia McGavro spoke to that survivor and starts our team coverage live from the Oklahoma City National Memorial. Amelia?
Yes, Chin, survivor Don Bewley visits this memorial every 5 years and would have been here today for the 25th anniversary. And though the memorial is closed to the public today, he says he doesn't have to be here to recall what happened. Bewley says that he worked in the Housing and Urban Development Division on the 7th floor of the Alfred Murrah Federal Building. He says his desk was just feet away from where the building caved in from the explosion. He was able to escape with only a minor head injury. I sat down with 81-year-old Bewley today at his home in Edmond, and he says even though 25 years have passed, he still remembers it like it was yesterday.
And then I came up and it was just gray. It's all I could see was gray because of the concrete dust. And soon it was kind of like the old slideshow. Once that one passed, it was black. And that was from the smoke from the cars across the street. And then after the wind carried those away, it was there, but I could tell right then and there. I was in a bad spot. I had about 6 foot of concrete in front of me and about 3 on my right where my desk was.
Ahead at 9 and 10, I'll have more of Don Bewley's powerful story and how the Oklahoma City bombing changed his life forever. Live in Oklahoma City, Amelia McGavro, Oklahoma's own News on 6.
A Green Country High School principal shares with his students what this day means to him every year. His mother was among the innocent lives lost. News on 6's William Blanchett continues our team coverage with the Ginzer family.
Kyle Ginzer lost his mother 25 years ago in the Oklahoma City bombing. And he says despite how long it's been, he still remembers it like it was yesterday.
I really wanted the opportunity to just sit down and ask him, why. That's my mom.
It's a question Kyle Ginzer always wanted to ask those responsible for taking his mother's life on April 19th, 1995.
That's me.
Jamie Ginzer was one of the 168 people that died in the explosion. She was working as a loan officer for the Federal Employees Credit Union when it happened. Kyle says he was at Wellston Middle School in Oklahoma when he first heard about the tragedy.
When my uncle came to get me, he was like, "There is an explosion at your mom's building. We got to get to Grandma's."
Kyle says he was at a loss for words when he first took a glimpse of the scene.
When you see the pictures of it the first time, you're just like, what in the world just happened?
For almost 20 years, a memorial of Jamie has been at the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum.
The watch and the earring.
Kyle keeps a shadow box of his mother, showing the watch and earrings found in the rubble. Kyle says she was known for her amazing smile and her beautiful singing.
She would often wake me and my sister up by singing a song to us instead of letting our alarms go off.
Kyle works as a principal at Manford High School, where he displays several things to serve as a reminder for students to learn from adversities.
An Oklahoma flag and a piece of the Murrah building with a pin from that time period, along with 3 of my marathon finishers medals. My mom used to have a saying, let go, let God.
Kyle plans to pass down his mother's shadow box generation to generation so that she can always be remembered. In Manford, William Blanchett, Oklahoma's own News on 6.
On this day 25 years ago, an Oklahoma City woman had just dropped off her husband to work when the bomb went off. She's left with their 6 children. Now the family is about to learn some exciting news. Kay Allen and her husband Ted happened to ride to work together on April 19th, 1995.
I dropped him off, got to work. I'd just gotten up to my floor, put my bagel in the oven, and the bomb went off.
Kay says, had she been near the Murrah building 3 minutes before, she wouldn't be alive.
And it was like we were in another country. I've never seen anything like it.
Ted, an urban planner for U.S. Housing and Urban Development, was among the 168 people killed. Kay was left to care for their 6 children. She's proud of how they've overcome such heartache and pain together. All 6 Allen children have graduated college, and some have children of their own.
In some ways, it seems like it was yesterday. And the way that I realized that it wasn't yesterday is looking at Austin.
The youngest, Austin, who was 4 when he lost his dad, is now about to be a father.
It's something that I really look forward to. It's been a dream of mine my entire life to have somebody call me dad, something I wasn't able to do.
Austin and fiancée Marissa McGinley will find out the gender of their first child April 20th.
I just know that he will be the best father.
Austin says it's been really hard growing up without his dad, but he'll make sure their children know about their gentle giant of a grandfather.
The compassion and caring for other people, and that's a trait that will definitely be emphasized and passed down to my future child, our future child.
The State Health Department reports the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 is almost 2,600 in Oklahoma. Across the state, more than 300 people have been hospitalized and 140 have died. The latest was a woman in Delaware County. Nearly 33,000 tests have come back negative since the pandemic began. State leaders are confident the curve is flattening in Oklahoma, but urge everyone to continue physical distancing. And across the country, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases is still rising despite physical distancing efforts. In the United States, 722,000 people have been infected and more than 33,000 have died. That's according to Johns Hopkins University. California and New York continue to be hotspots for the virus, with more than 28,000 cases in the Bronx alone. Despite the rise, some governors are making plans to reopen their states for business. Well, a stormy Sunday for some will make way for a big warm-up this week, but the rain will return. Meteorologist Sawyer Wells tells us when to break out the rain gear yet again across the Osage Casino Skycam network. Plus, a story of survival, still budding 25 years later. And on the 25th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, we're honoring those who were killed, those who survived, and those changed forever. On the final day of our 168-day commitment, we remember John Youngblood, along with the following survivors and those who helped with the recovery. Out of the rubble of the Oklahoma City bombing 25 years ago emerged a symbol of hope that became known as the Survivor Tree. Despite taking the full force of the bomb, the now 100-year-old tree stands at the memorial site. And as News on 6's Dave Davis explains, there's a plan to make sure this tree outlives us all.
Many of us remember where we were on the morning of April 19th, 1995.
And was actually at the FFA contest, judging contest, when we heard the news. Regardless of what we found out, our lives were going to be drastically changed.
Dr. Rosalind Biggs and her sisters, Blaine and Chelsea, lost their mother, Dr. Margaret Peggy Clark, in the attack. And a sapling from the Survivor Tree is also helping keep Peggy's memory alive. In the middle of all the destruction and chaos that day stood this American elm in downtown Oklahoma City. It was about 100 yards away from the Murrah building in a parking lot. Mark Bays, who now oversees the care of the Survivor Tree, immediately rushed to the scene from his downtown office and right away started looking for ways to help. The next year, the course of his career and life changed forever.
Early in spring, somebody, just like we're out here today, noticed that the tree is still green. You know, there's some green on that tree. It survived.
The Survivor Tree seedling and cloning programs ensure that even when this treasured American elm eventually sees its final rebirth in spring, that it will never truly die. Seeds, saplings, and even some clone trees are scattered across our country, carrying on the legacy of the Survivor Tree. And one of those saplings has been planted right here at Tulsa's world-class park gathering place.
Thanks to Mark and many others, saplings have been given out for years to survivors, victims' families like Rosalind's, and to museums and memorials around the country. The year-old trees are grown from the seeds of the survivor tree at a nursery in Clinton, Oklahoma. Cloned trees, on the other hand, are the literal future of the mother tree. The cloned trees are created by cutting a twig from the survivor tree and grafting it to a seedling of the tree itself. Mark says one of those clones, possibly the one at Scissortail Park in Oklahoma City, will eventually be planted at the memorial to take the place of the survivor tree when it dies. It's so much more than a tree because it shoulders the responsibility of representing victims, survivors, first responders.
You know, it still shows the scars. The scars are still with us, but we've continued on.
The fact that it's witnessed so much and seen so much, I think there is something spiritual about that. You know, this tree could have just given up hope when they put a parking lot around it, and it didn't. It survived.
Dave Davis, Oklahoma's own News on 6.
Since the museum memorial is not able to give out survivor tree saplings at today's remembrance ceremony, they tell us saplings will instead be handed out sometime in the fall. Coming up tonight at 10, our Washington Bureau Chief Alex Cameron has more on the tribute in our nation's capital. News on 6 has team coverage of the 25th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. It's complete in our News on 6 app, where you can find all of these stories and more.
From the Bob Mills Weather Center.